Okay, welcome everyone to the continuation of chapter 1 of the Gate of Unity and Faith section of Tanya. And we're sort of in the middle of the chapter most of the way through, but still kind of in the middle. And we discussed how the letters of the Hebrew alphabet, that were used in the Asara Mamoros, in the 10 sayings with which God created everything, how they further came down the levels through a system of permutations, which would mean that you scramble letters, a system of letter ciphers where you exchange letters, and also and one of the main engines of exchanging letters is through what's known as the Ralosh Sha'arim, the 231 gates. Now, I have some pictures to show you of each of these. Not to say that these are complete diagrams of the whole range of it, but just gives you an idea. So I'm going to switch to share screen. I'm going to show you some pictures.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm a little surprised. Okay, there we are. Okay. So now what I'm showing you here is a letter permutation. This is this is one of the more famous diagrams of letter permutation, and one of the more famous examples of it. By some have the custom on Rosh Chodesh to have in mind when they say the blessing for Rosh Chodesh in the Musaf Amida, to have in mind the name of God for that month. And you can see over here, so the first month, the month of Nisan, you have God's name spelled straight, Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, and you also have the name Aleph and Hey and Yud and Hey spelled straight. Now, the month of Nisan, the following month, you have Yud and Hey and Vav, and the next name is Aleph and Hey and Yud. And you could see how so on and so forth each month, the letters scramble. Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting things I could show you. For example, that the summer months all begin with Yud. Not summer months, the spring months. Sorry, the spring months all begin with Yud. The summer months all begin with Hey. Tammuz, Av, Elul all begin with a Hey. That would be the autumn months all begin with Vav. And the winter months all begin with the final Hey of God's name.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very, very interesting. And you have the same pattern with the other name over here, Aleph, Hey, and Yud and Hey. All the spring months begin with Aleph. All the summer months begin with the first Hey. All the autumn months begin with the Yud, and all the winter months begin with the final Hey.
And what is the source of the pasuk that each name?
So I don't know exactly. I think the source of the verses which the names of God are taken from, the permutation, I should say, of the name of God that's taken from, is from a work called Mishnas Chasidim. Mm-hmm. And he identifies the verse. That's what I read somewhere. And he identifies the verses. So, for example, Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey straight come from the verse Yismechu Hashemayim B'sag el haaretz. May the heavens celebrate and the earth rejoice.
I threw it out because it was past the time.
And you see over here, it's the first letters of the word of the verse is Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey. The next verse for ER is
20.
Yishalel HaMishalel Haskel V'Yadua. That's Yud and Hey and Hey and Vav. So here's a beautiful example of letter permutation, and many say it, they insert it specifically at this point in the blessing. This has to be the Shabbos Musaf prayer for Rosh Chodesh. Right over here, we contemplate God's name. They insert it right in the space between God's name and Mekadesh. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I'm going to show you. So that's letter permutation. Now I'm going to show you the 231 gates. This is one of my favorite diagrams of it. It's done by Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan. And I'm going to zoom in on a particular part of it, which I think you'll find really cool. Okay. Make this a little larger. No, I want it a little smaller than that. Hey, where are you? Okay. Here you see, you have all the letters around. You see it clearly?
I still see the other thing.
You still see the other thing?
Yeah.
With the Chodeshim and the Pasukim.
Okay, 1 second. Then I have an idea. Okay, do you see something different now?
No,
Mm,
no.
Oh,
Not yet.
okay. Wait, it's telling me screen sharing has stopped. So let me try again. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
Oh, I see it now.
Okay, this is not one of my coolest ones, but this will do the trick. This is the 231 gates. I'm going to make it a little larger. And what you're seeing over here is that every single letter of the Hebrew alphabet you can make two combinations of. So Aleph Beis, Aleph Gimel, Aleph Dalet, Aleph Hey, Aleph Vav, going down the list. Aleph Zayin, Aleph Ches. The next, let's go down the next column. Gimel Dalet, Hey Zayin. By the way, do you see my cursor? As
Yes.
a
Yes.
Zayin Yud, Tes Mem, Chaf Ayin, Mem Kuf. So you can make 231 possible combinations and of any two letters of the two letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Letters of the Hebrew alphabet, and it's often referred to as Ralosh Sha'arem Panim va'achar. Panim means forward, like Aleph Beis. Achar would be backwards, like Beis Aleph.
Why does it have kale over and over again? Aleph Lam and Aleph Lam.
Yeah, I think that's just that I don't know exactly, but I think that's just a dividing mark. That's a repetition. For some reason, it has a meaning. I don't know. I really don't know offhand. Like I told you, I'm just showing you examples to give you ideas.
Yes.
But you could see in the caption, it says the 231 gates according to the Kabbalistic method. And this was taken from Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan's Sefer Yetzirah, page 114. Hey in every other letter, Vav in every other letter. And you see that when you line it up this way, it makes a very, very interesting symmetrical shape.
Yes, indeed.
So you have 231 lines connecting the 22 letters.
Yeah.
231. This happens to favor it. And here above is just to show you the shape it makes.
Right.
You know, so isn't that
Yeah.
really, really cool?
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to show you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now that we have a little bit of that, let's go back into the text. Okay. So now we deal with Va'af shelo huskar shem Evan ba'asora mamoros. Even though the name stone is not mentioned in the 10 sayings, right? Shabbat Torah. So even so, afal pikein nimshach chayus leven al yedei tzerufem v'chilufem v'chilufei oisios hamiskalgalois biralosh sha'arim ponim v'ochar k'moshe kosov v'sefer Yitzirah. Still, the life force of a stone comes through the letter permutations or the letter exchanges that cycle through the 231 gates forward and backwards, as is stated in Sefer Yetzirah. Now you saw what each of these things are. You saw a sampling, I should say, of each of these things. We didn't study it in depth. We don't know real, I just wanted to give you an idea of it. So you saw what letter permutations look like. You saw what the 231 gates look like. You understand that there are 231 connections between all the letters total with each other. And you understand that forward means like Aleph Beis, backwards means Beis Aleph, and you understand. And these are tzimtzumim. These are contractions of the life force from the original power of the 10 sayings, in order to bring the life force down to attenuate it to lower level creations.
Is that the emanation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's an emanation. It's an emanation to make a creation.
Right.
Ad shemishtalshel me'asora ma'amoros, until it comes down from the 10 sayings, the himshach mehen, and draws down to them. I should say it's hard to say, because once the letters are emitted on that level, they're no longer in the category of emanation. They're probably in the category of creation themselves, because they've entered into the realm of creation. They're separate. They feel separate from their source, because they're already in the worlds of Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya at that point. They're not the spheres of those levels. They're the expressions of the spheres of those levels. The nimshach mehem seiruf shem Evan, and the permutation of the word Evan comes from it. Evan meaning stone. V'hu chayuso shel Evan, and that's the life force of a stone. Everything in Kabbalah is alive. There's no such thing as something that's not alive. Everything is filled with life, including a stone. Yeah, actually, if you were to look at a stone super microscopically, you would see it's teeming with life. The molecules are in vibrating action with each other, backwards and forwards. Electrons being shared from shell to shell. All sorts of interactions between male and female energies going on back and forth, meaning positive energies and negative energies. So, it's great. It's an illusion that it's something solid that's not alive. And it's called daimim because daimim means that it's mute, it's inert, it doesn't talk about its life, but it's alive. That's done so that people have free will. And so, with every creature in the world, the names that they're called in the holy tongue, they're the words of speech that that descend down the great chain of the levels, from level to level, from the 10 sayings of the Torah, through the letter exchanges, or temurais, and oisiais, or mixing the letters, orim, in the 231 gates, until it reaches down and dresses itself inside of that particular creation. And why does it do that? To give it life. So everything is alive. You are living in a living universe. Lefi she'ein perote hanivroim yochem lekabel chayusan me asora ma'amores atzman shebetoira. And this is all because they cannot receive their life force directly from the 10 sayings in the Torah. Why? Shachayus animshach mehem atzman godol ma'od mibechinas hanivroim hapratim, because the life force that comes down from the 10 sayings are too powerful for these individual creatures to take. They don't have the strength to take the life force. And unless they get it toned down, as it descends from level to level, from higher level to lower level, through the exchanges of letters, and gematria. If we got to mention, because you didn't say it earlier, that gematria also plays a role in this. Gematria is actually even a lower level of the life force coming down than the switching around of the letters. So that even brings it down lower.
Yes. Now, us as people, do we receive directly from one of the 10 utterances?
Nase Adam, let us make man.
So we are able to handle that.
Yeah. But many other creatures can't. So their life force comes from some sort of mixing of the letters. You think of the letters as like energies that are really like chemicals in a sense. You mix them up, you get something.
Yeah.
So like you make a compound of something in chemistry, you mix up this atom with that atom, and you get a new compound. So you mix this letter with that letter, and you get a new life force.
Yeah.
Then you and the letter that's first is the dominant life force in that mixture.
Okay.
Which is actually something that Alter Rebbe is going to mention later on.
Okay.
So then, with regard to gematrias, shein cheshbon ha'oisiyos, that's the numerical value of the letters. Ad sheyuchal listamseim lislavish, until it can scale down further be mitzamseim, come down lower, and dress itself as havis mimenu nivra peroti to give life force to a specific creature. V'zeh shemoi asher yikre'u loi b'lashon hakodesh. And this permutation of letters is the name that this creature has in Lashon HaKodesh. So you want to know what the letters finally permitted to? Let's say for a lion, it's Aleph Resh Yud, Ari. You know, if you want to know what it finally permuted to for a dog, it's it's Kaf Lamed Beis, Kelev. And this is true, so on and so forth.
Now, like you have, let's say, Kello, then that's a general term for dogs in general.
Right.
But would there be further permutations for like specific types of dogs and stuff like that? I don't even know if they have Hebrew names for them. Not everything has a name in Hebrew.
I believe everything has a name in Hebrew. The question is whether we know it.
Oh,
And it's not the Loazi name that's taken from another language.
right.
It's something unique from within Hebrew itself. But it's one of those mysteries that haven't been revealed to us per se.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that it's one of those things we will discover as we go into the Messianic era, as we learn more the mysteries of Torah. We'll find out that there's more in Torah than we're aware of. And this will be among what we'll discover. You know, when we think about it, there are two approaches, you know. There's the worldly wisdoms, and then there's the wisdom inherent in Torah. So right now, you know, we supplement our understanding of Torah with some of the worldly wisdoms. This, you know, we could discuss, you know, what the value of that is and how it can be done. But you know, it in some way or another, it is done. There'll come a day when we won't have to do that. You know, where the Torah itself will tell us so much more that we won't have to go to the worldly wisdoms. Let's take it even further. We have our music is really taken from other cultures, musical styles. There is a musical style straight from the Torah. We just don't know it yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Is that like something that in the base of Mikdash, like the Levium?
I am sure. I am
would
very
use?
sure. I'm very sure. And there has to be a kind of music that's, I would call it a prayer music, a music that arouses the soul to prayer, to trance out into the prophetic experience. We don't, you know, the close, you know, we don't really have it. It doesn't mean that it's forbidden for us to borrow it from other cultures. We're allowed to, you know, especially if it's just the style and not the actual melody. If it's the actual melody, then there are questions, you know, how preferred that is. It's permitted, but it's a question of how preferred it is. But still, there will be a day we won't even have to go to the styles. There's a style straight from the Torah. We just don't know it yet. You know, probably our Nevi'im knew it. So let's continue on, because okay. And this name that it has in Lashon HaKodesh, in the Holy Tongue, Hu Kli Lichyos Lechayos HaMitzumsum Ba'oisiyos Shem Zeh. It is the vessel for the life force that's constrained in these particular letters. And the Shtalshel Me'asora Memoris, that has descended down from the 10 sayings Shabbat Torah, that's in the Torah. Sheyesh B'hem Koyach v'chayos livroi yesh ma'ayin u'lahachayoisai. These 10 sayings have the power to create something from nothing. That's what they're doing. So maybe you're right, Patya. They are emanations because they're creating something from nothing and give it life force, la'olam, forever. Because the Torah and Hashem are entirely one. Hashem and the Torah are not separate. The Torah is God's will and wisdom. You can't separate God from his will and wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
In so many places, the Alter Rebbe brings it out in the first section of Tanya, that the will and wisdom of God is the Torah. So when you think about it, the 10 sayings which are in the Torah, they're extensions of God's will and wisdom, and through that extension of God's will and wisdom, they create yesh ma'ayin, something from nothing. They make creations as opposed to emanations, things that feel themselves separate from God's source. Feel themselves separate from their source. So, this is a big thing, and we're not capable of creating yesh ma'ayin. We can only do yesh miyesh. We can only change the forms of things. We can only take a piece of metal, melt it down, and reshape it, and make a beautiful bowl from it. That's not called bria. That's called yitzira.
So,
And then finishing it off to the final form, that is called asiya.
Ah,
now when like I guess they talked about in Kabbalah, people using letters to create things like a golem, or like in the Gemara where they created a calf or something. Was that was also yesh meyesh? But they were just using already in letters that were already or combinations of letters that had already been. I don't know exactly. You know what I'm saying? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about the process to comment. I really don't know. I could tell you what my assumption would be. My assumption would be that it's in the form of a formation array, because the main sefer that this comes from is Sefer Yetzira.
Right.
So they're taking letters that are already there and forming them to mix the match spiritual energies. In other words, they're not taking the Asara Mamoras from its original form. They're taking it, I believe they took it from a lower down form to work with it. And also what's supportive of it is that the 4 who entered paradise, it says that they came. I saw this in the Tzemach Tzedek quoted it from the Arizal, that they entered the chambers of the world of Yetzirah. So it seems that the forces that the Talmudic sages had access to was at highest in the world of Yetzirah.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, they're forming things. They're making permutations, is switching things around, but it's not really, So did they create yesh ma'ayin? Yesh ma'ayin when they made the calf? I don't know enough to know. I'd be surprised if they did, but I thought that's only God's power. But we also have teaching sometimes God shares his powers with the tzaddikim. So maybe they do. Could you accept that I just don't know enough to know?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a lot to know.
Right. Exactly. I could teach you what it says here, but to tell you these things, I wish I knew. I don't know. Okay. So anyways, our time is coming up. So I want to thank you both for joining, and we're squarely on at the beginning of chapter 2.
Oh, good. Okay.
Wow, good.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
thank you so much.
My pleasure. So God willing, next week we're going to start straight from chapter 2.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Have a good night.
week.
You
Good night,
too.
good
You
week.
too. You too. Shavua Tov.
What's
Laila
up?
Tov. And
Peace, love, so.
Happy Thanksgiving.
and happy Thanksgiving.
We're
Yeah.
thankful that you're our
Yeah.
teacher.
You're my, thank
right.
you. Thank
That's
you.
right. Okay.
I'm thankful that I get to learn with great guys like you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Have a good
Litraot.
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 Okay. Okay.